Application models enable you to model your application's objects into reusable test objects that can be used in different test scripts and by different users. Application models can be created within a testing project. Right-click your project in the Package Explorer and select New LeanFT Application Model item. Give it a name. This is the application model name that you will later reference in your code. Once the application model is created, the application model editor is presented in the development environment, enabling you to model the application's objects. You can also create projects that are dedicated for application models only, using LeanFT's Project Creation Wizard. There are two ways to populate the application model with reusable test objects. First, you can launch the Object Identification Center from the Application Model Editor to add test objects into the application model. Ensure that the application under test is launched and that the target object is exposed. You can then use the Object Identification Center to spy on the object and it to the application model. The object's recommended properties are automatically selected, but you can add or delete identification properties or modify their values. Each object in the application model has a name representing the object and a code name, which is the name that will be used to access the object from the test script. You can also upload an image to represent an object. Simply click the Add Image button, navigate to the target image file, and click OK. You can expand, edit, or delete the uploaded image. You can also highlight a target object. This is useful for understanding which object in the application corresponds to the test object and for verifying the test object identification. You can also customize object identifications before adding them to the application model using the Object Identification Center's Edit mode. In this mode, you can manually select the identification properties you would like to use, and the object will be added to the application model with the selected properties. Another way to add objects to application models is to manually do so in the Application Model Editor. This is useful for modeling the application before its UI is ready. Simply click on the Create New Test Object button and then select a technology and object type to be used. You can then select appropriate identification properties and fill in the correct values. The application model is persisted by a TSRX file, which includes an XML representation of the application model and its objects. You can also edit the application model in the XML file directly. Instead of adding objects to the application model one by one, you can use the Add with Children functionality to add multiple objects at once. Start with spying on any object, then select the parent object in the spies tree. After that, select Learn Child Objects. You will see a list of child objects grouped by type. You can select all objects. All objects have a specific type or specific objects of a certain type. To ensure selection of the correct object, you can highlight the object first. After selecting the objects, switch to the Selected view to display only the selected objects before adding them to the application model. To help manage application models with multiple test objects, you can search for specific objects. You can also add tags to relevant objects and later perform an advanced search based on the assigned tag. You can delete or drag and drop objects in the application model. Before using the application model objects, you should first save the application model. If you are working in Visual Studio, saving is not required. Application models are dynamically compiled into classes that represent the application models and their objects. For Eclipse and IntelliJ, the class name is the name you gave to the application model during creation. For Visual Studio, the class name is the name you provided in the Class Name field inside the Application Model Editor. To use an application model, you should first create an instance of the application model class and provide it with a context. For web applications, the context is the browser object. The browser object is not modeled in the application model itself, which allows you to provide it as the context of the application model when creating the instance, and by this, reuse the same application model across different local or mobile browsers. For native mobile application models, the context would be the device object, whereas for desktop applications, providing the context is not mandatory if the application's window is modeled in the application model. Once the application model instance is created, you can then reference objects in the code. You can access the objects using their code names, which are dynamically compiled to methods. For Visual Studios, the code names are compiled to properties. Right-click the object inside the application model editor and select Generate Code to Clipboard. Then paste the generated code in your script. The API for activating the object is exactly the same which is available when describing the object programmatically. Notice the simplicity of application model-based code compared to descriptive programming code. Using application models increases the efficiency of both creating and maintaining the tests because the object's identifications are defined once and then reused in different tests. Also, when there are changes in the application that require update of object identifications, there is no need to modify the test scripts, but rather only the identification of the relevant objects in the application model. Application models are available in all the IDEs and for all the application technologies supported by LeanFT.